You are now watching The Meech.
Many of you know me as the gator who burns Nintendo's unfinished free updates games to a flamin' hot crisp, and I can't blame you. I was downright obsessed with Nintendo Switch Sports and Mario Strikers Battle League. Or maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. And you know what? Since it's National Leg Strap Day,
Happy National Leg Strap Day, Nintendo fans!
that is, unless you're playing Nintendo Switch Sports Soccer! Yay! Oh my goodness, I created a holiday out of Switch Sports, didn't I? For those who are new, I find releasing a game that's clearly unfinished and patching it later with free updates to be unacceptable. The games suffer from it, and so do we. It was absolutely infuriating seeing Mario Strikers return after 15 years, only to get what was a glorified tech demo. But at the very least, these updates are free. It's an IOU, sure, but if anything, I think it can be hilarious. Nintendo literally had to delay golf for Switch Sports to have it be in the winter from its scheduled fall release, only for it to end up being recycled content. But in a less funny case, such as with Mario Golf Super Rush, at least the updates were kinda substantial and frequent. The finish it later approach reeks. Case in point. Now, it's one thing to finish a game with free updates, but honestly, I'm at a loss for words. Nintendo and Game Freak had the audacity to announce full-on paid DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and we're not talking reasonably priced DLC. We're talking $35 DLC for a game that runs about as well as Super Mario Bros. Special. When it was announced, I expected to be fuming, and I'm all out of cigars, but honestly, I was just numb. It was something that I just expected. Not that I approve of it, but after playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and the circumstances after the game released, I realized something. And that is that Pokemon has become a lost cause. Occasionally, a series will have a dud. I found Kirby Star Allies to be painfully mediocre at best and boring at worst, and I'd consider it to be a bad game. It's a bit polarizing of a game. Some love it while others don't, but I think most of us can agree it wasn't Kirby's strongest outing. What did HAL do after Kirby Star Allies? They fell down, and then high jumped back up. We got Kirby's first 3D adventure with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, a masterpiece of a game. Then in the summer, we got an unexpected but charming spin-off, being Kirby's Dream Buffet, a $15 eShop game, and a great multiplayer game with loads of unlockables. Love that game as well. And now as the 30th anniversary buffet comes to a close, we got an excellent remake being Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Games like Kirby Star Allies, New Super Mario Bros. 2 and U, WarioWare Snapped, and other games like that are just duds. They weren't the future of the series. Pokemon, on the other hand, had quite the blunder with Pokemon Sword and Shield, but the thing is, Pokemon has been flailing like a Magikarp. They haven't gotten back up. Not including notable exceptions like Pokemon Legends Arceus and New Pokemon Snap, which were quite good, it's been incredibly rough for Pokemon. There have been a lot of mediocre mobile spin-offs, one tied to one of the worst companies in the world, mind you, and the mainline games have mostly been terrible. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl did nothing to genuinely remake the games like the prior 3 remakes did, and while Pokemon Scarlet and Violet did have some good ideas, its performance and visual presentation are so unbelievably awful that I'm honestly shocked the game was approved. The discussion is often who is to blame, Nintendo, Game Freak, or the Pokemon Company. To end the confusion once and for all, the Pokemon Company is not an external source pressuring Nintendo or Game Freak. They are a joint venture of Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures Inc. The thing is, it doesn't matter who's responsible, because the game still released in the atrocious state that it did. Nintendo had no problem whatsoever releasing a special edition Nintendo Switch OLED alongside the game, even though they knew full well that the game has severe issues. And there's likely mismanagement when it comes to development of these games. Releasing 2 open-world games in 1 year is absolutely ridiculous, and it was bound one of them simply wouldn't be ready in such a short time. They could have had Pokemon Legends Arceus be the Christmas title for 2022, so they could polish it up a bit more, and then have Pokemon Scarlet and Violet a year or 2 later. Problem solved. But we can't change the past, and what actually happened remains what it is. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have some of the worst reception I've seen for Nintendo games. Even worse than Pokemon Sword and Shield, it stands at a 3.3 user score on Metacritic, and many have just wanted the game to be fixed. If the performance issues weren't a factor, I'd still find the game to be poorly designed, since there's no level scaling, and it's not really open world, and it would probably still look visually appalling, but at least the game would be playable. But rather than fixing the game, it was decided DLC would be the better option. DLC for a broken game. And there's a reason for it. The performance of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is notorious for just how bad it truly is. It's laggy, glitchy, and is extremely unpolished. It is on the levels of Cyberpunk 2077 and Sonic 2006. It is that notorious. But let's say they fix the game. Could they sell it as an upgrade, as paid DLC? They could, but the negative press surrounding it would be astronomical, and the idea itself is just insane. They can, however, make DLC and sell that because it's technically new content and is marketed as an add-on. The issue with Scarlet and Violet isn't content. It definitely feels like a full game, but it's unfinished in the sense of that it can't even work properly. They're prioritizing the DLC because it's something they can sell to you. We haven't seen any gameplay whatsoever, but considering the game hasn't even had a performance fix, my expectations are rock bottom. In the end, it doesn't matter how the DLC ends up. None of the issues of Scarlet and Violet mattered either, because despite everything, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sold a whopping 21 million copies in less than 3 months. Do you realize how crazy that is? Even some of the Nintendo DS Pokemon games didn't even reach half that amount. Truly a shame to be honest, but Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has showcased no matter how broken a game is, and no matter how bad it looks, and no matter how poorly designed it is, it's still going to sell incredibly well. And honestly, why would they want to try? Not only are the games selling well, but they also have a group defending them to the moon and back. If you enjoy the games, that's fine, but actively defending it is what is concerning. I'll often see things like, it's still Pokemon! If you ignore the game, then it's amazing! And you're just obsessed with visuals and frame rates. But why? Why would you want to defend a game that was knowingly sold to you unfinished to the point where it almost feels like a scam? The reason why people defend stuff like this is more complicated than you'd think. Video games can create meaningful experiences. They can absolutely leave an impact on your life, and Pokemon happens to be a franchise that has been loved by many generations and is often tied to nostalgic memories, but what happens for some people is they cannot detach a game or series from their own personality. They see criticism of a game or a series they love as criticism of them. Super Mario Odyssey is my favorite game of all time, but even if some didn't find the game to be incredible or even found it to be bad, I wouldn't make an issue of it. I'd disagree, sure. Maybe I'd also explain my point of view, but I wouldn't get upset over it or feel the need to defend it. It's actually quite interesting hearing different takes on games. I find it intriguing hearing why some people like Paper Mario Sticker Star, even though I consider it to be the worst Mario game of all time. And this is where some need to understand that criticism or denouncing a series or game is only that and not a personal criticism of you. People usually criticize because they care about a game or a series. If I didn't love Pokemon, I wouldn't say anything at all. But it's so disappointing seeing a series I once loved fail due to corporate greed and banking on brand name. As fans, we deserve better, and considering Pokemon is the world's largest media franchise by an astronomical amount, there's no reason for the games to release how they do, and we shouldn't be complacent about it. I think it's fair to say Pokemon definitely could improve, but is it likely? It very well could. But unfortunately, it would likely have to go beyond just vocal feedback. Like I said before, the Switch Pokemon games have sold insanely well, and it's clear Nintendo and Game Freak or anyone else involved have absolutely no shame in releasing paid DLC for a game that launched in an unacceptable state, but they still got their reward. It really would have to come down to just not buying the games or buying them secondhand. I got my copy of Pokemon Scarlet on eBay, and for $45 at that. But you see, most of the people buying Pokemon aren't even aware about the discussion around the games. They just get them because they know Pokemon, and it's comforting to them. I know quite a few people who primarily just play Pokemon, and it just makes me think, they are missing out on a world of games outside of that bubble. At this point, I've just accepted Pokemon will never get better, just like how I accepted that Paper Mario the Origami King pretty much confirmed we'll never get another Paper Mario game in the style of the first two. But the key difference is at least Origami King is a well-designed, fun game that looks incredible. The quality of Pokemon is so low that it's almost to the level of shovelware. It's difficult, but I've accepted Pokemon will likely remain this way, and I'm honestly numb to the disappointment. I hope that one day, things will change, but I'm not expecting it anytime soon. In the end, Pokemon is a series I loved and it has 7 generations I thoroughly enjoyed and can always go back to, but until things get better, there are too many great games to enjoy, and it's not even worth playing games I don't even find fun to play. I will not be getting the DLC, and I'm pretty much done with the mainline entries until we see drastic improvement. I'll still share my thoughts and such, but I feel it's best to move on from the series, and if you feel similar to how I do, don't be afraid to do the same. If you want some great RPGs, the Switch has no shortage. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 I heard is incredible. Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope is also a masterpiece, and it hasn't gotten the love it deserves. I've sunk over 90 hours into it, and have still remained engaged, and it often goes on sale too. Definitely recommend that game. I hope Pokemon can eventually live up to being the best like no one ever was, but in its current state, I've unfortunately just decided to accept defeat. I didn't want it to be this way, but it's just not worth the energy being disappointed anymore, because in the end, it's going to be inevitable if things remain the way they are. So what do you guys think? How are you feeling about the Pokemon series? Anyways, thanks for watching, and keep calm and da-da on.